Hello, ChiBizHub community. Thank you for joining us for yet another spotlight honoring our Black businesses here in the city of Chicago. I'm really excited to be here today and talk with Antoine and Ari because I feel like I've already known them forever in terms of when they wanted to start their business and actually launching it and where we are here today. So before we kick it off, I want to remind you all we are here to support you all, the small businesses, during the pandemic, post the pandemic, and in this, time that we are at right now. I hope that you take out of this, some inspiration to perhaps launch your business if that's what you needed, or to just learn about the resources, right? That probably helped Antoine and Ari launch theirs, because that's what we want, in terms of being ChiBizHub, being that portal for you all, to be that resource for you to, start, grow, or scale your business. So without further ado, thank you both for joining me today and taking the time to share with us, the story of Atmos Coffee and kind of what, got you to just get out there and start your business. Thank you again, Anton and Ari. So let's get started.
Definitely.
Can you share a little bit about, your vision and kind of what got you to launch your business, Atmos Coffee, especially here in Humboldt Park where we are?
Well, we are big fans of coffee. I've been drinking coffee since probably 4, 5 years old, and very passionate about community.
Yeah, and I'm Puerto Rican, so coffee is basically a cornerstone of every household. So I grew up drinking it as well, and I actually grew up in Humboldt Park, not too far from here. So we were very passionate about opening up our first shop in this neighborhood.
Awesome, thank you. So as many, we did mention this, the Black Latinx-owned business. And so for many, you've really paved the way for other Black and Latinx owners to start their business and just launch their entrepreneurial careers. What has this experience taught you? And in your opinion, how can the industry be more inclusive?
It's funny you said we paved the way because I feel like, really? But that's cool. I guess for me, it just I found comfort in just betting on myself and knowing that I had what I needed to follow this dream and to kind of make this happen.
And in terms of being more inclusive, I think that people just need to be intentional. I think that for us, when we were getting started, we noticed how, for lack of a better phrase, it was a white man's club. So even getting experience or getting people to actually show us their ropes or show us their books, it wasn't very easy to do that. So we very quickly found other shop owners like us, which is a very small community, and that's when the conversation started to be more productive. So just, when being more intentional with reaching out to coffee owners, we do get a lot of coffee owners that come in. A lot of times they won't introduce themselves. So just kind of being intentional about making those connections or building those relationships with people.
I love what you said about that, very specifically, right? So I mentioned, I love for our ChiBizHub community to learn from your story, to get inspired by your story, and being so specific about people won't even show us their books. That's something so integral to launching your business and understanding that portion, the business portion of the dream and idea that you have, right? And so it's funny because we just did another spotlight with another coffee shop owner that was so eager to share that he knew you, right? Knew a coffee studio. And I chuckled and I smiled too because I'm like, see, this is the community that we wanted to showcase. Coming together, learning from each other. You both want your businesses to be successful, and that just shows, I think, the Chicago entrepreneurial community, small business community, just trying to help each other out, because there actually isn't even that many coffee shops in the neighborhoods. If you think about it, right? I mean, yeah, you have your Dunkin' and your Starbucks and whatnot, but you don't have these small businesses that have, or you do have, these small businesses that have this story behind too. Just like you said, right? I lived around the corner, I grew up in Humboldt Park, and now I have this business here, right? So there's just something tied to that. So thank you for sharing that. Tell us a little bit of, what has been your largest obstacle and how have you overcome it in opening Atmos Coffee? What did the solution look like? And did you lean on any specific organizations? I know you mentioned, right, you lean on the community at large that have coffee shops, but any organizations that have helped you out during this process?
I think the biggest hurdle was just getting started. For myself, just kind of getting over the whole, I need to make a business plan. We have to figure out what kind of legal entity we want this to run under. And just kind of those little small administrative things where I was like, I just want to have a shop where I can make coffee and meet people. That's it. I don't want to worry about all that. But I mean, you have to have that firm foundation with your business. So getting started in that way, and then also for us, getting the experience. Kind of how Adi had said that we both come from finance backgrounds, so this is a jump. For us, it's a passion project. And getting that experience was nearly impossible. I tried to get employment pretty much at every shop in Chicago, and I wasn't able to. And that was kind of discouraging, because you kind of feel like, all right, well, you're telling me that none of my skills are transferable to be able to be a barista, and that's not a knock at the barista role itself, but I just feel like I saw that the individuals making the hiring decisions weren't open to that type of thought. So yeah, I think getting started was the biggest hurdle. But once we were able to, some kind of key players in that were, I was able to get a job at a shop called Drink Happy Thoughts, which is in Uptown. And they were just completely open with me. They showed me everything from front of the house to back of the house, knowing that I had the intention to open my own shop. And that was very rare. So they knew that at any point in time I could come in and say, hey, I gotta put in my 2 weeks, I found the location. And they were in full support of that. BACP, we took the courses that they outlined through there. We went to a couple of their different, their workshops.
Yeah, and let's highlight about that, because you did the workshop like in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like
Yeah.
That's usually the Chicago BACP workshops that we promote very much on ChiBizHub. BACP is a strong partner of ours. You know, you were starting, launching your business like all in one together, and that's kind of where you learned, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were very pivotal. And then the Rogers Park Business Alliance, they put on a workshop, and that, I feel like that was probably one of the biggest turning points.
Yeah, so one of the classes that we got to take, they were giving it there, and then we made connections with the Rogers Park Business Alliance, and just the people there, like we can go to them with any questions, and they were very like helpful, and actually like step 1 is this, step 2 is this, where it wasn't just kind of like, here's all this information, figure it out. Like they were very helpful and just being like, okay, now first you gotta do this, like let's backpedal and let's get this done. And even to this day, they still follow up with us on certain things, and so they were extremely helpful in getting us to the resources that we needed to get to.
That's amazing. I'm like smiling from like cheek to cheek, because so the Rogers Park Business Alliance is a business resource provider on the hub, and everything you're sharing right now is exactly what we want the community to know. Like every provider on the network provides this kind of service. You know, they go through this vetted process so we ensure that when they get connected to a business owner like you, they get this experience. Like you said, they're like, we've already launched our business, everything, but they still check in on you. You know, and that's what matters in terms of, right, like the community and the business providers here in the city of Chicago helping out our small business owners. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you mentioned, right, you grew up here in Humboldt Park, and, you know, it's obviously very near and dear to your heart that you have this business down here. So talk to us about how you foster community here in Atmos in, you know, Humboldt Park, and how has the concept of Atmos done so, and how do you just stay involved in everything?
I mean, I think once we opened, we just reached out to the alderman, the Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce, and just anyone that we found to be kind of a pillar in the community, and just told them, like, we're Atmos, we're here. If it ever makes sense to have coffee at your whatever you got going on, we would love to, you know, partner with you. So it was really just organically just going around, meeting people in the neighborhood and saying, this is what we are, this is what we're about. We'd love to partner with you in some way, in whatever way makes sense.
And then also just like local bakeries. I know I try to feature local bakeries that have like Puerto Rican or some sort of influence to bring it into the community. A lot of times our customers are like, what is that? And I'm like, well, I'm glad you asked, because this is something that we grew up on. So just kind of giving opportunities to those people who don't have storefronts or anything like that to sell their pastries within the shop as well.
I love that you've included that. I'm gonna go a little rogue, but I want you to talk a little bit about your menu, because that is important, right? Like when you are, there's so many coffee shops in a way I feel like that are popping up, but they're not. And so their story is important, their menu is important. Like, how did you go in deciding what was gonna be on the menu? You know, you shared a little bit about that. But like, I know that there's a couple of drinks that I've had here that I'm like, no one else had. I think it was like a bourbon latte. Like, that one's really good. So like, talk a little bit about your menu and what went into the thought process for that.
I think we wanted to have something that we felt familiar with, and we felt like if I was at home and I wanted to make a drink, what would I want? What are some flavors that I would enjoy? Or what are some flavors that I had growing up that I feel like a community would identify with?
Like our first special was the Abuelitos latte, and it's funny because like I grew up drinking Abuelitos hot chocolate, but not everybody in this community has. So it's just very interesting to hear them say like, "Oh my gosh, I love that the Mexican hot chocolate," and I'm just like, "Well, I can introduce you to that." Or just like the mango tajin. One of our baristas made that because it was something that she liked to drink growing up, the mango and the tajin together. So it's just very much, we give a lot of creativity to our baristas as well. And so whatever flavors they enjoy and want to introduce to the community, we do as well. But like our empanadas, we grew up on empanadas, so that's something that we wanted to share, or at least I did. So just kind of introduce the community to things that they normally wouldn't have, but obviously with a twist.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's something else that I feel like you could probably go on a tangent on, but you shared how, workforce is also important when you're launching your business. And the fact that you let your baristas kind of be involved in the process, like it's almost, I don't know if like the word is like a parallel, but like to your experience, right, Antoine, when you were trying to get out there, get a job, and trying to understand the role of a barista, it's like almost like you've taken that role and you're like, this is what we want it to be at our shop. And we're gonna introduce folks and give them kind of like the leeway to be involved in the process, so they don't feel like they're just like, oh, I'm just coming to work, or like, no, I'm coming home, basically, and like creating something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely very intentional about exposing our baristas to owning a shop. That's something that's really in the heart of our shop too. We want to be able to diversify the face of coffee and also diversify the face of coffee ownership. With that, so we offer a free barista training program. So we've had 2 young ladies have went through that program and have gotten employment from there. So kind of the thought behind that was like, we just wanted to eliminate one barrier that I personally experienced in getting into the coffee industry. So now when they're sitting down with that interviewer, the conversation doesn't stop where it's like, oh, you don't have experience. So now they're bringing to the table, yes, I've been trained here, I know how to make all your standard coffee drinks. So the only learning curve that I have really is learning the culture of that specific shop. Yes, we treat coffee as a trade. So once those individuals have that skill set, they can take that wherever. If they go to college, they can get a job on the college campus. If they move anywhere in the world, you're gonna find a coffee shop that for the most part is gonna make your standard 8 specialty drinks, and they'll have that skill set. So that's something that's really, really near and dear to our heart. I'm happy to say that we've had 2 people go through that and have found employment. And if that can kind of tie back into your original question, those are 2 individuals from Humboldt Park who now their household income has increased because someone in their house now has a job. And the trajectory on their life just shifted off of that small sacrifice of training them skill set.
I love it. I'm getting chills because that's exactly what I wanted to get at, for the community to know, we talk about what makes a Black business like unique, right? a Black Latinx business, just a business owned by a person of color, right? Like, this is it. You're so intentional. Going back to what Adi was saying, right? Being intentional about every little aspect of your business, from start to scaling, from the in-between with your employees, like, that's amazing. Now, Antoine, though, like, I feel like you're gonna watch out. You just mentioned this program. We're gonna get a lot of requests now for being interested in this program. So FYI
That's
on
awesome.
that one. We'll put in a link or anything like that if you have that for folks who are interested. Well, thank you. You know, to close out, you know, not so much yet, but want to talk a little bit about, you know, you kind of, what, a year, or not even a year? But
8 months.
8 months, yeah.
Okay, 8 months. Let's talk about how you plan to grow or scale, and what are your goals for the future of Atmos?
Yeah, we're gonna need another shop. I feel that the operation we have here, Atmos, works, and I feel like that we can definitely replicate that. So we are looking for another shop. We got twins on the way, so we need another shop.
Lots going on.
But yeah, we definitely want to scale. I feel like that we found something that works.
And I think that's just the heart behind what we do, right? We're in business. Of course, we want to be profitable, but we want to be in a position where we can use that money to expand the barista program or do community outreaches and things like that. So just kind of keeping that at the forefront of what we do and why we do that. This is a small shop, and it's small on purpose because we want to redirect our resources to things that can help. So opening a second shop would be very helpful in helping us accomplish that.
Absolutely.
Wow, thank you. So to actually close us out this time, please share, you know, what have you learned as a coffee shop owners that you'd like to share with those watching and are interested in getting into the coffee industry?
Yeah. I would just say, just do it. There are a lot of resources out there, and you provide those resources, and they're actually very, very helpful. But in terms of just like going into business, like I always say, like be married to the vision, but not the process, because that's always going to change, and you're always going to have to pivot. So in the 8 months that we've been in business, I mean, the way that we get to where we need to get is just like, it's midnight, you're like, tomorrow let's change this. You know? So that's what I would say, like be married to the vision, but not to the process, because that's going to change all the time.
Great advice. I'm trying to use that.
I think that will end on that. That's good.
All right, awesome. Well, I want to thank you both for, you know, just even having this interview with us, sharing your story with the ChiBizHub community. I know I was inspired. I was just, you know, smiling the whole time to know that, you know, the resources that ChiBizHub has have been very helpful to you in
Absolutely.
various different ways. And even from the first conversation that we had, right, before you even launched this business. So thank you again. Thank you for everyone for watching. We'll make sure, you know, if you want to get in contact with Antoine or with Adi in terms of their program, or just visit Atmos. And when you're in Humboldt Park, come grab a coffee and be here. You know, make sure to check it out. Thank you again.